Okay, hi everyone. I'm going to share the screen with you. I noticed that when I share the screen, there's always a black something that appears. So for some reason. Sue, we missed you last week.
I did have a chance to watch the recording,
Okay.
so it's great that you do record those.
Yeah, right. No, I sent it to you. So
Yeah.
Okay, so it's very interesting because when we talk about Serach, I put this here because there's actually here a Serach at the Seder. So there's a Passover Haggadah supplement about her, and you have here all the things she's associated with. For those of you who have not been studying with me before, because this is a repeat of something I did last year, she lives forever. So she's starts out her life as the granddaughter of Jacob, and for all I know, she's still alive. We don't know. So anyway, there's a novel which is called "The Complete, Uncensored, Heartbreaking, and Amazing Autobiography of Serach Bat Asher, the oldest woman in the world." And what do you think it's called? Deathless. And again, here you can see some pictures associated with her. And it looks to me like this was created by AI, but I have no idea. Anyway, if any of you are interested here. And anyway, what he's done is he's retelling the history of Judaism recorded in the Torah. And he tells us through the history of the voice of a woman, which is Serach. And then, he discusses in the book how she managed to live on indefinitely. And there are a couple of books like that, that we've all read, that go back to the very beginning. Or not necessarily to the beginning of time, but there are books like that. And so she ends up meeting the Buddha and Jesus and Spinoza and Einstein and even Mel Brooks.
He's now a year-old man.
Right. So anyway, so here are some of the sources connected with her. So the sons of Asher, all right, in Genesis, which you have the genealogy, and listed there are his sons and Serach, their sister, all right. So you have here, you have this here, and these are the sons of Zilpah, right? Remember Leah had her maids, and so she was on the Leah side, okay? And if you notice the spelling, and this might be one of the reasons why she may be less known. Notice how it's spelled here, Serach, all right? Now the other time it's spelled differently, and with a sometimes it's with a shin. No, here it's with a shin, right? Well, sometimes it's spelled with a sin. I don't have it here with a sin. Sorry about that, but I know that there is a place where it is, maybe over here in Numbers. It might be in Numbers where but I don't have the Hebrew there for some reason. No, that is Numbers. Okay, it doesn't matter. Okay, so these are the two associations of her name. So the fact that she's in the list in Genesis 46 and the list of Numbers 26 means that she's been around for a while, okay? Otherwise, there's no mention of her, except that's it. But there is a statement, a request that Joseph makes to his brothers, right? That when God will take them out of Egypt, you shall take up my bones from this place, right? In Hebrew, Hakod Yifkod Elohim, and pay attention to the Hebrew, Hakod Yifkod Elohim Etchem Valitem Et Atzmotai Mizeh, okay? When he singles you out, that's the Hakod Yifkod. Now, in Exodus, this is in Genesis 50, in Exodus 13, Moses took the bones of Joseph with him, for he had solemnly made the sons of Israel swear. And then we have here, God will surely single you out. Hakod Yifkod. So there is a legend, which some of you may have heard, right? There's a legend, which it's not here, but it's here. Yeah, here's a legend. In the Talmud in Sota, right, is how did Moses actually know the place where Joseph was buried, right? we have the words, right? Pakod Yivkod, right? So that's a hint to him, the Pakod Yivkod, to the midrash writers. And so, how did he know? It's because Serach, daughter of Asher, was a survivor of the generation. She's still around so many years later. And Moses went to her and asked her, do you know where Joseph was buried? And she told him. The Egyptians made a metal coffin for him, right? And they put it in the Nile, and they so that the Nile would be blessed by Joseph's bones, right? They still liked Joseph in those days. That was before the anti-Semites many years later, who did not know Joseph. And Moses went and said, Joseph, Joseph, this is the midrash. The time has arrived, which the Holy One, blessed he, so swore, I will deliver you. And the oath, right? It's time for it to be fulfilled. Behold, we are free of the oath. And immediately, Joseph's coffin floated on the surface of the water. What a miracle. Isn't that amazing? So we have this really cute story here in the Midrash. And all because of the association with the Pakod Yivkod, that God will see you right. And we've talked in other times, we talk about the word Pakod because it's also God remembered Sarah, Adonai Pakad Sarah, those of you who were in synagogue, the first day of synagogue, right? We read about that. That was, so the idea of remembering and knowing and being able to follow up on something is very important. It's associated very often with God. Okay, now she also was associated as being a musician. She was a harpist. And because of her music, that's how she earned eternal life. And there's this interesting story also in the Midrash, and this is excerpted from Jill Hammer's notes. It appears in Genesis Rabbah. But I took this out. I was a little lazy. I took it out from her notes on the Midrash that she wrote. When Joseph's brothers returned from Egypt, knowing he was alive, they were afraid that the joyful and unbelievable news would stop Jacob's heart, right? If you remember, up till now, he was heartbroken because he thought he was dead. But now they were afraid that the good news would be too much for him. So they asked Serach, Asher's daughter, to sing the news to Jacob while playing on the harp. So through song, Serach was able to share the news without killing Jacob. All right, she probably sang a song to him. And then he blessed her. And what was the blessing that Jacob gave her? I don't know if it's a blessing or a curse, but he blessed her with eternal life, saying, the mouth that conveyed such good tidings shall not taste death. Okay, and that's the origin of her living forever. And that's really, pretty cool. So you have here all sorts of very interesting pictures here. This is an image by Yehuda Bloom. I don't know if any of you know him as an artist. Actually, well, he was probably dead by now, but I knew him in camp in the 60s. He was like an art counselor in one of the camps we went to, in Sedgwick, and he was a counselor there. And so we met him there, and he introduced us to the art world when we came back to Israel in '67. Here's another picture. This is Genta Leshy, who very often has pretty sad stories about women, but in this one, I don't know if this is Serach, but you do have a picture of her, some woman playing a violin. I don't know if it's meant to be Serach, but it could be. Here you have an advertisement for a music festival, Serach Bat Asher with a violin here. Oin de Gula, what did it say? In Yiddish, Oin de Gula. I imagine that's Yiddish. In the days of the Gula is when we'll be redeemed. Here's one by Lillian. Should be with an E. I don't know why it's with an A, but change that. 1 second. Obviously, I copied this from someplace, but it's usually with an E. Anyway, this is definitely Serach, and you could see her playing, but up there are the angels in eternity, so she's still playing to this day. And here's another one. I don't have any data about where I got this from, but you can see that she's still around and she's going into fire. Maybe she's finally dying, and if she's going into fire, this would remind us of whom?
Elijah?
Elijah, right,
Awesome.
right. In other words, so she's on that same level, so maybe she's finally off to wherever she's off. But I have here two midrashim. One is in Praise Her Works by Rosie Rosenzweig. I don't know who she is, but I mean, there is something about her at the end of the book, but it doesn't really necessarily matter. And she's associated with Picha Patcha B'Chochma, the Torah Chesed Al Shonah from Eshet Chayil. Her mouth is full of wisdom. Her tongue with kindly teaching. Why did they associate that with her? Because she told Yoav. Now, who is Yoav? Yoav was is associated with David. I am one who seek the welfare of the faithful in Israel. She's associated with the wise woman who saved her town. To Yoav, we'll see the picture in a minute. I am one of those who seek the welfare of the faithful in Israel, but you seek to bring death upon a mother city in Israel. Why should you destroy the Lord's possession? And this is in 2 Samuel, when Yoav was prepared to kill the whole city unless they would give up. I think it was Avner who, and her worth was worth as much the fact that she saved a city and a mother in Israel, which is like Deborah. So she deserves to be associated there. So this is how we're not going to read this one. Oh, we probably do have time to read both. Let me see. Time? Yeah, we probably have time to read both. Okay, so this is how it begins with Serach speaking. And I just want to point out here, Malchiel, all right, in the genealogy, I skipped reading his name, but if we go back to the genealogy, all right, these are the sons of Zilpah, whom Laban gave to Leah, his daughter, and she bore these to Jacob, 16 persons, all right? And the sons of Beriah, Heber, and Malchiel, okay? So we have Malchiel in this genealogy here. So this is where, just to show you how midrash is usually based on, on something, right? One other thing is, let me just show you the picture here that I'll come back to afterwards, but this is a picture of 2 Samuel. You can see here that the wise woman is throwing, right? The wise woman of Abel is throwing, you see what this is?
Head.
A basket?
It's
a
a
head.
head. It's a head.
Oh, a head.
She's throwing down the head.
Look
right,
like pizza from afar, but then you got this look like a
Right.
head.
So that they're all going to try to kill him, but she throws down Sheba's head. He's the one who they were looking for, and that's how she saves the town. Okay, so it's an interesting story, but we don't have to go into the story itself. So that's a famous picture. Okay, so let's read the midrash. I have some pictures in between here, but I just wanted to get to that picture before. So we need 6 readers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is a reader 2? 7 readers. Okay. So we'll start with who's here. I'll start from the back first time. Bonnie, hello, Bonnie. Bonnie, reader number 1. Joyce, reader number 2. Toby, reader number 3. Jill, number 4. Louise, number 5. Oops, I lost you all. That was Louise. Okay. Norman, no, Stevie, what number am I up to?
You're up to 6.
Stevie, number 6. And Norman, number 7. And then afterwards, we'll have other people reading because there's plenty to read today. Okay, so first reader.
Serach speaks. Now, as I stand at the edge of the sea of reeds where my knowledge has brought us, I remember not being so wise when I was had us Moses had us set up our camp here, and his incantations have kept the darkness and the Egyptian camp far away. These are the times when I look back on my life because I can't sleep. I remember that when they came and told me what to do and what to say, I had to do it. What did I know as a girl of 18? Or was I 20? Who remembers these numbers now? You can't put a real number on time from the world above because it has no meaning. Time was invented for mortal convenience. Knowing the beginning and end of things makes men less anxious. The Ein Sof 7 now, no, whatever, knows, but I digress. We are, as we old ones often do. Back to the story I want you to know. Then I was beautiful, young, and womanly without any skill in confrontation. After all, you don't argue with the tribal chieftains. But when my uncles told me what to say, my beloved Saba, grandfather Jacob, I almost blurted out, but he's always been alive. I whispered it to myself anyway, watching shame and embarrassment cover their faces. That happened whenever Joseph's name came up, and I began to suspect why, as if I hadn't suspected before. After all, when I came into their tents, I was only 3. Even then, playing at their feet, I heard them whispering, raw and ready to hurt out their intrigue. They ignored me then as a mere baby girl, the way they ignore me now as a budding woman. All they know is that I made their father smile, and being a girl child, I was no threat to them like their younger brother Joseph. When Saba first saw me, I could tell he loved me like a doting father with no conditions. The whole household of Jacob could never mistreat me because of this first greeting. Oh, how I miss my father, Malchiel. One minute he's playing with me, the next minute he's gone. And Asher tried, he really did try, but his beard was so rough and he felt so little in his own eyes around his older brothers. They were from Jacob's wives, well, most of them were, but he was a handmaiden. What could he do but go along with them?
Asher was the one who tried to make peace among his stubborn brothers, but even he could not they were angry for telling them that Reuben slept with his stepmother Bilhah. They didn't,
We're gonna make it a little smaller. Is that
oh,
better?
they didn't believe Reuben confessed and repented. I remember my poor mother weeping when Asher finally told her about his troubles. I remember when Asher tried to cheer her up. He made her smile, so I smiled. He did try to be a good stepfather, but he was clumsy with a little girl then because he imitated the bluster of his brothers, especially when he tried to feed me olives, which I had never seen before. My
Grandfather.
my grandfather understood this. His beard was white and soft, and when he took me in his arms, he let me play with his beard, fascinated by it, and soon I was napping on a bed of hair. It was like heaven. Actually, it is like heaven. Nowadays, every time something upset me, I would go to him and cry in his beard, and he would wipe my tears with his beard. At the time my uncle sent me to him, I was going anyway. I was always trying to cheer him up. Uncle Joseph went away. My heart broke for his sad face. His brother, my cousin Benjamin, was the same
But he was,
as he was. He even guided me in breaking the news to him about Joseph. I used the heart my uncles gave me, but Saba
asked me,
to repeat the words again and again, singing to him, Joseph is alive and he rules in Egypt. This brought him to
so
feeling
much, so
pleasure.
much,
What?
yeah. I'll read the last two words because you're having trouble with them.
Okay. He breathed in each word and his face got brighter. The words revived him and all
Allowed him to.
feel God's Shekinah again. This is how I learned from him to calm a troubled heart with song. My Sabbath taught me so much, like how to open my heart with silent compassion. He was my first teacher. Maybe he knew too, but he wouldn't tell his sons, except on his deathbed. He even had a private conversation with me and repeated the blessing of eternal life to me again. From the mothers, including my own, I learned to be silent at the right time. My mother was silent. Asher was frustrated with his own brothers. She was silent like all their mothers when their husbands talked in their sleep, but we all knew that they mumbled about Joseph in their guilty dreams.
So this is really very interesting up to now because so we have somebody here who's really giving us a little bit of backstory of what it was like to live in a household with secrets, and that's really very interesting. But she did learn to be silent, so she kept that to herself. She never shared it, right? She never shared that news with her grandfather, which I find fascinating. Okay, next reader.
His mother, Rachel, told me that she sent them those dreams. Slavery taught me more about silence and more than Saba ever could about compassion. You want to know why I was counted in each census? Without me, Jacob would still be depressed. Without me, there would have been no Exodus, no journey to the promised land. Those uncles, they all thought that wisdom comes from ideas and lessons and parchment scrolls. They were so bound by their rules. Compassion leads to wisdom that resides in the heart of silence. If I had dared cry out when I saw my children and my friends buckling under the whip of a Pharaoh who had forgotten Joseph, do you know what would have happened? Enslavement comes slowly in baby steps. First, they take away one freedom, then another, and then another. Before you even realize it, everything is oppression and forced labor. To cry out would mean torture, not death for me, but pain. So I learned to listen and watch and learn from those who knew. My father, Asher, whom I learned to love, taught me the signs of the Redeemer, the one who would deliver us from this living death. He learned the signs from Jacob, who learned them from Joseph. My silent knowledge drew many pretenders. I even thought Moses could have been one. After all, magic tricks are easily learned. But I knew when they told me what he said that Moses was the Redeemer. After the plagues and the Pharaoh's permission to leave and take booty, Moses wandered about searching for Joseph's casket. Joseph had made our people promise not to leave him in Egypt, but to take him to the promised land. I waited until Moses came to me. Maybe that's wisdom, but maybe that's because it's so tiring when one gets older to pursue a person. I told him where Joseph was and what the Pharaoh's magicians had done to him. No spell could keep Joseph from the Holy Land, especially when roused like that with God's secret name on Moses' lips.
So this is also fascinating because the idea of silence and keeping your mouth closed in order to save yourself. What does this remind you of, her description here? First they take away freedom and, all of that.
Reminds me of what's going on today.
Okay.
Yeah.
In this country, in the United States.
Right. Right. And also
what happened in Nazi Germany.
Yeah.
It's funny that you thought of the United States before the Shoah, right? But it's what's closest to us, yes. Okay. All right. So it's very interesting that, the idea of holding your, I'm actually reading a novel right now. Remind me, I'll tell you that afterwards. I don't want to ruin the story. But that really the whole function is the two people, one person speaks up and then gets punished for it, and the other one is left, to save what's left. Okay, so we have here now one. I love Janet Schaffner. She's really an amazing artist. She died a couple of years ago. I actually met her brother, I believe, lives in Israel, and he fixes furniture. Anyway, he told me that she had passed away. But this is an amazing picture, right? It's called The Assumption of Serach Bat Asher. The Assumption, right? That sounds pretty Christian, right? Of Serach Bat Asher. It was done in 2010. It's an amazing picture. Clearly, she's an old woman. Might even be a picture of herself, self picture. And so this is a continuation of the story, but I simply inserted the picture here. Okay, who's next reader?
Okay, you want me to read this?
Yeah.
Okay, now I stand at the water's edge with all these memories and with my daughters. Most of them have adopted me, for to them I appear so old. They want to speak to them. And so now we come to this moment of risk. Stand with me at the water, daughters of Israel. Before the break with slavery, look at these waters of time and life. Remember the other waters of the river that turn red from blood. Remember how we have been saved. Remember how fragile is our mortal life.
Okay, so here she's still living it. It would seem that this is on the one hand much later because she's remembering the blood from the river, one of the plagues. On the other hand, this seems to be a little bit later because she has many daughters, etc., and she's very old at this point. Next reader.
Here is the past in the undercurrent and the future in the waves rushing across the surface. This is a timeless moment of faith, all flowing together in the present. This is the moment of risk. Wisdom understands risk as the moment of danger and opportunity. Who could know that my songs would elect me to sing to Jacob? Who could know that the words would come down into my mouth, and so many times at that? In my compassion for him, I received compassion from him, and that compassion was the birth of wisdom that thrives in the heart.
Okay, so this is clearly the message of the story, but it goes on. Okay, next reader. On the right, I have told you my story.
Louise, were you 5? Okay.
Yes, she was.
I have told you my story many times before, but do you know what I will do in the future? Prophecy comes with immortality. The day will come when I will confront King David's officer, who would have thought, from my timid girlhood, that I would take Joab to task, but not knowing Torah and the correct manner to besiege a city. Imagine that he would slaughter a city for one traitor. I was his equal, and I stood for the city. My compassion drove me to speak wisely. So many lives were at stake.
Here we have the connection with the saying at the beginning, right? The beginning of the midrash, of her midrash. Okay. Next
Remember that there are many of us who will watch over all of you and who are watching over you now. We take it upon ourselves to intervene and talk through the mouths of strangers or friends to guide you. Try to listen to us throughout your life. Water is a good thing to part, but beware of idolizing it or making it into a solid paradigm. There are 4 rabbis who try to enter paradise, but only one of them, Rabbi Akiva, knows not to call anything by what it appears to be. In the timeless time of paradise, all becomes thought without materiality. Remember, we enter God's mind as we are shown what a miracle looks like. Find the miracles in your life when I leave you. Try not to be too quick to name them at the moment of their birth. Words will come after your heart is open. Continue. A message from Serach. Risk is taking the leap based on what you've learned to be true. Angels are watching you always. Be ready to believe the one who tells you something important. Getting old is the path to wisdom. The more you experience, the more compassionate you will be, because you have probably experienced it all.
Okay, this is interesting. I'm not sure if I understand what she's saying here. Maybe you could help me. There are 4 rabbis who try to enter paradise, but only one of them, Rabbi Akiva, knows not to call anything by what it appears to be. in the timeless time of paradise, all becomes thought without materiality. Do you understand what that means? All becomes thought without. By the way, this is also meant for girls to read, young girls. The book is a wonderful book to give to teenagers. So I think it's important that we understand what this means. All becomes thought without materiality. Anyone have any ideas?
Well, supposedly for in paradise or in heaven or whatever, in the whatever, that there won't be things. We will all be, I've heard two different things. One, that we will all be content with our lot. So whatever the other person has won't mean anything to us.
Okay.
We won't be envious. And the other is that we will lose we will lose our bodies, and therefore things don't matter.
Okay, very
Yeah,
nice.
I think losing the physical world
Yeah.
and just remaining on the spiritual level.
Right. Okay. Okay. So that's very nice. I'm not so sure if I agree with all of this, but at least now I understand it. Thank you. And so, but the whole idea of compassion, and this is, it's a very interesting message. And it all, goes back to when she had compassion and patience, right, for her father and for her grandfather, right? And she was able to sing and calm a troubled heart with song, and that she was silent, right, and that she chose when to act, and her choice of action was here when she saved the town. And the writer here doesn't have her as being dead yet, right? She's still out there, right? In terms of the writer here. Here's a mask of Serach. It's a pretty scary looking mask. This is I guess it's paper mache. Looks like paper mache. And Carly Lesser and Art Draglis, Mask of Serach, 206. Here's the picture that we saw from Serach at the Seder. Now it makes more sense for us to see everything here. You have the people crossing the sea, right? And there she's with the people all the time. And you have fish in the Nile, and you have all the things associated with her. Here's another picture. This is Nathan Moskowitz. We've looked at his stuff very, very often. This took me, I must tell you, this picture took me so long to hunt down. I have no idea how I finally found it, because it appeared in the Jewish exponent without any attribute. And I finally found it. And I found it. It's, of course, we've seen Nathan Moskowitz's work before. We've seen it many times. So here you have, what would this be?
Probably either Moses or Joseph's bones. It's not quite clear to me.
It's hard to tell, right? It's hard to tell. If we open up Nathan Moskowitz's book, we probably could find a description of this. I would imagine this is Jacob. I would imagine. But I'm not sure. Anyway, he probably has, I have his book actually online. I don't know what I did with it. He probably could explain it. But anyway, it's a very, very interesting picture. And you have verses here which are hard to read. I can't really read them on the lines. There are all sorts of pictures here. And maybe all of these pictures are Serach. In other words, starting from when she's a little girl, right? And then she grows up in Pharaoh's time, and then she continues to, maybe this is Joseph's multicolors. I mean, we don't really know what everything stands for here. Anyway, it's a beautiful picture.
Well, don't you think that she's holding, her hand is on, whoops, go back for a sec. Where'd it go? Her hand is on, her hand is on Jacob, and that's Joseph from still the Egyptian time, and those are his sons below, Manasseh and Ephraim.
Yeah. For you, probably. Yeah, very nice. Because his hands are crossed. Good for you. Okay. So I'm not really sure why I have this Serach, as a matter of fact, but the article was about Serach. I'm saying that's where I found it. So I never really looked further after finding the author, I looked hard, really hard for it, and I finally found it. And I probably have it in his book, but I don't know where. I don't know where my copy is. But anyway, so Serach lived through slavery, right? We saw that. She showed Moses where Joseph's bones were buried. She lived to enter the land of Israel. She gave David's general good advice under the guise of the wise woman of Babel. I don't really like when they take away a wise woman. When they give it, there's so few women in the Bible. I don't like when they take away one woman and substitute another one who exists for them. But okay, they do that very often in the midrash. And she lived into the rabbinic period, and she told the sages how the parting of the sea of looked. And some say she died in a fire in Persia, but some, like writer and folklorist Howard Schwartz, claim to have met her even in modern times. Okay, so she's still out there. So before we look at the at Jill's midrash, if anyone would like to add anything, let's just look a little bit at the picture so we'll have some continuity. So here you have some sort of a sarcophagus. Yeah. And here we have another. This is later on. The synagogue will come to that later, and I think we'll have time to get there. But just in case we don't have to read it, the rest of it, here's the Serach Bat Asher Cemetery in Isfahan. And here's her grave in Iran, right? And here you have Tzion with Serach, which is, there's actually a place not too far from where Sue lives. You were supposed to, last year I asked you to go there. Do you remember?
I remember,
You ever go
didn't
there?
make it. It was under Hezbollah fire last year.
Okay, right. Okay, so anyway, not too far from Khalil, which is near Kibbutz Yichayam. And here you have a tree, which is in Nachal Yichayam, where people put, this is like Serach's tree. It's an improvised memorial for her that exists there. And so you can go and find that place and, you know, make your wishes. And then finally we'll come to the song when, at the end. Hopefully there will be time for all of that. So in case I've done the tourist stuff, the story's not that long. I think I might shorten it also. Okay, so where were we before? We had stopped at, who is the last reader? Norman? But you probably mixed yourselves up since then. So, Reese, you did not read yet. Stevie, did you read? Was that a yes?
She did read.
Yeah, okay, so Sue, you'll be the reader one. Toby, did you read? Okay, so Geraldine, you didn't read, so you read two. Jill, you read already. Bonnie read already. Norman, Barbara, did you read yet? Still there? Might not be there. Okay, so we'll go back to the beginning. So whoever was 1 and 2. So now, Norman, you'll be 3. Bonnie 4, and Jill 5. Let me just see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 is the. No, that's still there. 5. This is, yeah. So we have five readers. Okay. So the opening, I'll just start with the opening. This is from Jill Hammer's midrash, and she starts with the midrash from Tanchuma Yilamdenu, which is with the coffin, all right, and the midrash that we saw before, the coffin, and so with the coffin floating to the surface. Okay, so the first reader. So this is the coffin, right, floating to the surface, maybe. So if it was wood, I don't know how it could survive. So, okay. Here we go.
Okay. The lead coffin rested on the bank. It seemed to Moses that the noise it had made as he set it down still echoed beneath the voices of the night insects. It was a wet noise, the noise of tearing earth, of burial. Beside him, Serach panted in the darkness. Her lined and sweating face glinted in the splendor of the full moon. It was the night of the final plague. Slavery was dying. The sleepy buzzing of the night insects was its eulogy. Serach tapped on the coffin gently with a long fingernail. She touched the golden skin of the bull that decorated its lid. She turned to Moses. Her hair, still black after many years of life, danced gently in the breeze. "We can't carry this," she stated flatly. "It's too heavy for a tired prophet and an old harpist. We'll have to take him out." Moses, who after 10 plagues had thought that nothing could shock him anymore, was aghast. "He's a sacred ancestor, a prince. We can't just prop him up between us like an old board." "Plenty of Hebrew slaves have been carried that way to their final rest," Serach told him. "He'll be glad to be free of that box after all this time. Leave it to me." Serach began to hoist the heavy lid with her spidery fingers. Moses leaped to help her, honoring the will of Asher's daughter, but his heart grieved. He did not want to see his ancestor, his hero, as an embalmed Egyptian nobleman. It reminded him of what he might have been. He turned away his face as the lid slid off and thudded into the reeds.
A tender sound from Serach startled him. He glanced at her face, then into the coffin. His breath caught in his throat. The embalming work had been undone. Inside the lead box lay a pile of bones. It was a small pile, for Joseph had been a small man. The wrappings had dried and faded and lay in small fragments on the floor of the coffin. "God brings us back to ourselves at the last," Serach said. Moses felt the hand that had clamped his heart for such a long time suddenly release. "Sometimes before that," he added. Then his face fell again. "But how will we carry him now?" he asked, his voice full of frustration. The people would already be gathering to leave, and he was needed among them. Yet he knew the promise to Joseph must be fulfilled. Could he simply gather the bones up in his arms? There was a sudden rustle from the reeds nearby. A shawled form came to stand near Moses and Serach on the bank. It was Jochebed, the mother of Moses, who had nursed Moses as a baby, who had saved his life. Serach nodded to her. "Then it has happened as my father told me it would," Jochebed whispered. Moses remembered that Jochebed was a daughter of Levi, of the same generation as Serach, privy to many secrets. He raised his eyes and saw that in his mother's hands was a worn, woven basket, pitched with bitumen, with a blanket nestled inside.
Okay. All right, so more or less is the story, all right? And so here's a description of why she wrote this, okay? Who's the next reader?
I guess I am.
It's
Okay.
Norman. Norman is the next reader.
Oh,
I don't think,
okay. The bones of Joseph. Sarah, daughter of Asher, is an obscure figure in the biblical text. She appears only in a genealogy, but is a major character in midrash. While the Israelites are packing to leave Egypt, Moses goes to fulfill the vow that Joseph has demanded from his family. "Bring up my bones from here." Yet Joseph has died so long ago, and the Egyptians have hidden him so well that no one knows where he is buried. Only the aged Serach, Joseph's niece, knows how to find the spot. She also knows Moses is the deliverer of Israel because he uses the code phrase her father taught her: "I shall surely redeem you." Serach leads Moses to the site of Joseph's coffin and watches as he chants the incantation that commands the coffin to rise from its resting place in the Nile River. The moment at which the coffin rises from the Nile is full of drama. "If you do not rise," Moses declaims, "we shall be free of the oath which you made us swear." Joseph's heavy ornate Egyptian coffin bobs to the surface of the Nile when Moses calls. The Israelites then bear Joseph out of Egypt. In fact, the midrash relates that Moses himself carries Joseph's bones. What the midrash does not go on to say is how Moses gets Joseph's remains from the coffin to the Israelite tribes. It is not easy to carry a lead coffin through a wilderness, even if one is a prophet. How did Moses and Serach carry Joseph's bones? I wrote this brief answer to that question during a writing exercise. It is based on the traditionally midrashic principle that what goes around comes around. All things in the Bible are connected. It is notable that the midrash portrays Sarah, a woman, as the source of traditional memory for the Israelites. Like the crone or the sibyl in other cultures, Serach is a source of ancient knowledge for her people. Like the Torah, she lives forever. In the Bible, Serach has only a name, but in Midrash, she has a powerful myth attached to her. Serach is the personification of wisdom and the link among generations.
Okay, so this is really very interesting because it's a little bit like, making a midrash out of nothing almost, right? I mean, there's like very little to work with, and look how much they've done. It's a little bit similar to what we saw with the Queen of Sheba, but the Queen of Sheba, there was a whole bunch of stuff about her. But the Ethiopians tradition, what they did was that, they created a whole tradition around her. Maybe that's true. I don't know. So anyway, so over here, there was one more reader. Yeah, Sue?
Yeah, if I can make a plug for the introduction that I wrote to my own book.
Right.
I actually used the Serach, the classical midrashim on Serach, to make a justification of why modern midrash is a valid form. I go very much into depth on analyzing the classical midrashim. So if anyone's interested in reading more about Serach and kind of how these midrashim took shape, I'll recommend my book. The first chapter.
Right. No, it's brilliant. It's a brilliant introduction. My only problem with it is that I didn't think when I was starting to write midrash that I had to justify it. But it's brilliant what you've done. I read it. Yes, we definitely should be reading it. Okay, so then here you have this synagogue here. Was somebody else supposed to read? I don't remember.
It was Bonnie and then Jill.
Should I read this?
You read it? Is it too light? Should I make it darker?
Maybe. I think so.
I'll turn it into black. Here we go.
Okay, that's perfect. Persian Jews claimed that Serach wandered throughout Persia during the rest of her life. During the 9th century CE, she settled in the town of Isfahan. Even her death is shrouded in mystery. The Jews in the area tell of a great fire that erupted around the synagogue in their town during the 12th century CE. Serach was in the synagogue at the time of the fire, but when the fire stopped, she was nowhere to be found, and the synagogue was left unharmed. Many scholars claim that Serach never died, and she was one of the few allowed to enter paradise and the Garden of Eden while she's still alive. The synagogue that caught fire was later renamed the Serach Bet Asher Synagogue. Until the end of the 19th century, there was a grave site with the marking Serach, the daughter of Asher, the son of our patriarch Jacob, which stated that she died in the year 1133 CE. From her first appearance in Genesis to her interruption of Rabbi Ben Zakkai lesson, her incredible age has always been a part of her legend. Serach's age until her supposed death was around 2,500 years old.
Okay, so maybe we should say Kaddish for her. I'm joking, but anyway, she could possibly still be alive, and we saw these pictures before. Okay, so now we're coming to. Wait, let me just show you the picture. I don't know how I'm going to actually do this. Does anyone have more experience than I do with? I'm going to stop this sharing. I want you to hear the music. So let me first go. And put it on, and hopefully I could then, while we're listening, I could then share screen. Let's see, I'm not sure I could do that. Let's try. If not, what we'll do is second.
What are you trying to do?
I'll tell you what I'm trying to do. First, I just put it on now. Share screen. You'll definitely be able to hear it. Share sound. Okay. So share the sound, but I want to also I don't want the video sharing. So let's see if we could try with just the sound. Let me know if you hear the sound. Oh, I probably have to play it, right? Yeah. 1 second. It's not playing. Do you hear it? No, I don't hear it either.
But because the mute button is on there. So
Oh,
Yeah, you have to
next to the
unmute
pause.
down by
Yeah.
the pause, yeah.
Where do you see it?
in the
Turn
lower
the
left.
video back on.
You have to bring your, you have to
Yeah,
bring
and
your
down at the bottom
pointer.
left, next to the pause.
Wait 1 second.
Your
I see
arrow
that.
has to be on the picture in order to see the
On
symbol.
the video.
I didn't want you to see it. I wanted you to hear it because I wanted to show you the word.
Right, but it's muted, the video itself.
Okay, so I have to let me go on again. Sure. I'll have to do optimize for video sharing then. Right? Yes. Let's try again. No, I don't see you don't hear anything. Okay, that's too bad. All right, that's really too bad. I'll share. I don't understand why. Did you see something I did wrong? Okay, you know what? First of all, let me stop the video because that's this, right? And then let me see if I can work that out.